Welcome to Psychologie of Home. I am here with Emily, a brand new homeowner. She still hasn't even got into her house. She's owned it, 7 days? Got the keys 5 days ago, 7 days ago?
Yeah, about just over a week. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, first of all, congratulations.
Thanks.
Is this your first home?
This is, our first home that we've owned. We've obviously lived in apartments in other homes, but first ownership.
Okay. And this is the first time you and Jake have lived in the same home, or?
No, we've lived in the same home before, more apartment versus like becoming homeowners.
Yeah. So what were you looking for in this house? What were you hoping to get for this first time home?
Yeah, I mean, we were really hoping for like a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, mainly to accommodate not only our lives, but hosting family, hosting friends. We're really kind of view our home as our community's home as well. So we wanted space to be able to bring people in for a meal if possible, and also host people if they were coming through town or, if they just needed a place to stay for a little while. So we lucked out with a little bit of a ranch style, mid-century modern 1950s, very classic Portland, I think, in certain areas here. And it has a pretty large basement downstairs with a bathroom. So we're hoping to turn that into a guest suite situation.
Oh, nice. So is it 2-bedroom?
It's 3-bedroom upstairs, 1 bath, and then downstairs is just a big unfinished basement with the bathroom.
With the bathroom. Okay, well, that's nice. So for future planning, whatever you want to do down there.
It's a blank slate.
Very cool. And what were you looking for that you feel like you didn't get in this house? Was there any compromises?
Totally. So we'll probably be talking about this pretty shortly, but one of the compromises we did make was the size of the dining room. We had seen a lot of homes. We made, I think, about 5 or 6 offers before we ended up with the home we got. And some of the offers that we made on houses, they didn't even have dining rooms, kind of a separate space. They're included in as part of an eat-in kitchen situation. And so when we found this home that we ended up buying, the dining room is a little smaller than we wanted, and cooking and eating with friends and family is really important to us. And so that was something we did talk through of, okay, this isn't necessarily something that we would have chosen, but we're going to try to make it work.
Yeah. So we looked at your video of your house. We did a little video tour, and the point that you made about having it more open and being able to gather with friends and family was opening that wall between the kitchen and the existing dining room. And so is that something, I mean, it looked like structurally that wouldn't be a big deal. It's just a doorway right now. Would you be able to open up that and have more of like a big eat-in kitchen, so it's less about having a formal dining room, even maybe do like a banquette, only because you've got this small space and banquettes are very space saving. So I could see opening up that wall and putting the banquette on the wall opposite that doorway. And I don't think it's necessarily a situation where you can do an L, but you might be able to, if there's still a pathway in front of that L so you can get out to that deck.
Totally.
So I think that is one thing that is kind of a no-brainer, just because I don't think that there's going to be any real issues in the wall there to open that up. And then at least you have an open concept between the kitchen and the dining. And not only is it open to each other, but I think it'll feel bigger and won't feel so kind of landlocked like it is right now. It kind of feels like it's almost like a pathway to the outside. The other thing I was thinking was, is there a place to put any sort of a dining room in that living room area? Is it big enough, or do you feel like you'd be compromising on having that big gathering space?
Yeah, I mean, we talked through, there's 3 bedrooms upstairs and one of them is smaller. And so when you walk into the house, immediately to the left of you, that big paneled wall that we looked at, that's a smaller bedroom. And so we talked about potentially opening that up because we don't believe that that wall would be necessary.
Yeah.
But the distance between where the dining room would be and the kitchen,
I was going to say,
felt a little unnatural.
Yeah.
And so I really like the idea of some kind of banquet or
banquette. Yeah.
Banquet, is that the word? Great. I think something too that we've thought about is how to maximize space within that kitchen, because it is a rather small galley kitchen with the smaller dining room off of it. And so something we've also talked about is removing that closet that attaches and turning that into some sort of like wraparound pantry or sort of serving situation.
Yeah.
So that way it's kind of inclusive of tying both the kitchen and the dining room together, but
right.
we're not quite sure what that would look like
So
yet.
that closet, the kitchen, and then what is the existing dining room would all kind of be one functional space for eating and cooking and food prep and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And hopefully would give us a little more wraparound counter space if we took that wall out.
Yeah.
But it's just an idea we're playing with because where are we going to put the coats, So.
Well, I know that's true. That's the challenge. And maybe you could find a place for a coat closet even on that paneled wall that backs onto that smaller bedroom. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's possible you could even go into that smaller bedroom, maybe if it became an office instead of a bedroom or something, and carve out a little bit of space for a coat closet. Because I hate the idea of not having a pantry and not using that space for kitchen and dining when that's just like the real hub of your home just for coats, if you can find a better spot for it.
Yeah.
So that's one thing. And then when we were looking at your video, we also talked about that stairwell location is kind of a bummer, as it's just like smack in the middle of the house and you're just looking at walls. Mm-hmm. But one of the things that I've had quite a few mid-century modern homes. I live in one right now. And my stairwell is open. So it is smack in the middle, cool. Just like yours is. But it's open. So it doesn't really benefit like me that I can see it, but that is it, but aesthetically. So it's not really about the function. I don't get any more function from having it open, but just being able to walk in the front door and I can see into, that space. It just feels a little bit, it just feels just more open, more airy.
Yeah.
And then the other thing I was thinking is if there's any potential to vault your ceilings in the living room, especially.
Totally.
Yeah. A lot of times in the kitchen and the dining, it doesn't offer you as much. And I feel like where that is, I don't feel like it does. It also kind of makes it hard for like, if you've got new cabinets in your kitchen, like where's that starting and stopping point, if you have a vault. But I could see a vault really working in your living room. And a lot of times it's really not that challenging. So that'd be something to have an engineer at some point come over and take a look at that's probably the first thing I would do actually.
Yeah.
Is hire an engineer, and not even a builder, not a designer, just hire an engineer and just go on a fact-finding mission to find out, can you open up that wall between the dining room and the kitchen? Mm-hmm. And if there are posts in there, could they be eliminated? Mm-hmm. Usually you can do anything and they'll say, sure, we can do whatever you want. And only, it's just going to cost more money.
Yeah.
But a lot of times a post, like a single post, can be eliminated. Sometimes you live with it and you just kind of incorporate it into the design plan. But I would get some clarification on that wall, opening up as much as you can between that kitchen and dining. And then just while they're there, take a look at that stairwell and see what it would be like just to open that up. Because the thing is, you can make stairwells look really beautiful. And what I like about a stairwell is it just says more. Like there's more to this house. When it's all closed up, you're like, does this house have a downstairs? Like, you just kind of don't know. And it feels smaller.
It feels very labyrinthine.
Yeah, it just feels kind of more limited. But when you see the stairwell, you're like, oh, there's just like more to this house. There's something that feels really kind of just expansive about that.
Yeah.
And then I think the third thing while they're there is just to see if they could get a vault in that living room. So generally, an engineer will charge you anywhere from like $300 to $600 to come out. A lot of times they can give you those answers right then and there. Then at least you know how to proceed. Then you can talk to a builder about costs, to actually get that work done.
Totally.
But I would always start with engineering. I know it's a surprise to a lot of people that's where you start. But really need to know, that's where I have to start on every single remodel project, because I can get your before plan and I can do my proposed plan and we can all be like, oh my gosh, we're in love with this. Mm-hmm. But can we really do it? Can we do it, and can we do it for the budget?
Yeah.
And have you guys talked much about what kind of budget you're looking at to make any of these changes for what I call phase one?
I mean, phase one is definitely just un-80s-ing the whole house, ripping up blue carpet, painting over paneling, that kind of thing.
So you're going to paint. You're going to paint over the paneling.
We're painting over the paneling right now. We're just gathering information. So budget is more of it's not necessarily like right away situation. It might be in 5 years or so.
Okay.
But currently we're working with about $40,000 of cash, just to kind of figure out how to make it livable.
Okay.
So, that's kind of the next step right now, but we'd love to vault the ceiling. We actually talked a little bit about that just because the ceilings do feel a little lower in there.
Yeah.
Especially with the orientation of the house and the light. And so it would be interesting to see, especially in that front room, like you said, with the corner fireplace, if there's a way we can like highlight that height a little more because we do really like it. And the great thing about it is no one's painted it or touched it yet. So it feels pretty pristine.
Yeah. So. You guys are going to leave the fireplace as is, right?
Oh, totally. Yeah. We're not touching it.
I know. I love that too. That's always, not an argument, but a point of contention when someone buys, especially a mid-century kind of time capsule situation that has been untouched, is do you paint the brick? Because there's a lot of people who they'll just get that white paintbrush out and just,
which is fine.
Yeah,
that's a choice.
yeah. But I'm weirdly like obsessed with brick, and I just leaving it the way it is. I love that wall right there.
Yeah.
Although it's been painted over a couple times, but it's who knows? It's like over 100-year old wall. So you've already ripped out that carpet. And what are some other things for that $40K are you kind of thinking of right off the bat? Are you trying to do any of these structural things?
Nothing structural right now. Definitely next step is bathroom. So a lot of it we're doing ourselves or with the help of our friends who have done it before or who have owned multiple properties and kind of helped us out. So we're doing a little bit of a bathroom. We're calling it restoration instead of renovation, which is basically just, taking some old materials out, replacing them with some that are a little more, not sustainable, but more watertight, I think is kind of the next step there. We're spending on the bathroom and then have plans one day to also figure out maybe using IKEA sections in the kitchen and kind of replacing some of the stuff there.
For cabinetry?
For cabinetry.
Okay, yeah. You might find, I'm glad you mentioned that, I'm not anti-IKEA.
Okay.
I kind of am.
Okay.
But mainly just because it's a scary place. But what I have found is if you go to a custom cabinetry, obviously that's going to be entirely expensive.
Yeah.
But there's such a thing called like semi-custom or prefab. So prefab is where the boxes are already made.
Oh, okay.
So they're sitting in some factory in Indiana or whatever. And then the doors and then they're in, various sizes. And so the limitation with prefab is they're usually 3 inches in every direction.
Sure.
So you can do a 9-inch wide, you can do a 12-inch wide, but you can't do an 11-inch wide.
Right.
So they're a very inexpensive option.
Oh, okay.
They're dovetail drawers, they're soft close. So a lot of people go to IKEA as the first thought for inexpensive, but you can get prefab literally for the same price, and you just get so much better cabinet.
Okay.
And it just feels like, because it is kind of a custom process that you're going through. It's just with those limitations of, every increments of 3 inches.
Okay.
So there are some limitations, but not like the IKEA where it just has that sort of IKEA look.
Yes.
And, just the doors are a little bit thinner. And so I would look into, when the time comes, some prefab.
Okay, that's
so
good to
as
know.
opposed to the semi-custom is this word that gets tossed around. That's kind of a specific way of doing cabinetry. But I would look at the prefab, and there's you live here in Portland. There's tons of cabinet shops that there's actually. I can give you that information after we wrap up here. But there's a line that's actually really, really inexpensive.
Oh, cool.
So I can share that with you. I can share it with viewers too. So what are some things that you have already, I always think it's kind of funny when people buy a new house, because when I'm walking through, say that I walked through your house with you a week ago or a month ago, whatever. People have the loftiest ideas of things they're going to do. Oh, we're going to change this. We're going to change this. We're going to, everything's going to be totally different. And then the reality of living there, well, you learn things, you haven't even lived there yet. So you don't actually know how this space is going to impact you. And, even just things like, where's your favorite spot to sit in the living room? So these things are actually really informative, before you start ripping out walls and doing all this kind of stuff. So I think that it'll be curious to see what happens when you move in. And then a lot of that is just cost, just
Totally.
you're kind of starry-eyed about all these things that you're gonna do, and then the reality of how much things cost. Because 5 years ago, before COVID, we were doing kitchens in Portland for about $40,000-$50,000, full kitchen remodels, just a total gut job. And now that has more than doubled.
Wow.
So a couple things that happened during COVID is everyone was moving from wherever they were. So if you were in Portland or a city, you were moving out to the suburbs. If you were in the suburbs, you move out to the country. So everybody was doing something. And then for our area, we had an influx of Californians come up here, and they've got a little deeper pockets than the average Oregonian. It's just interesting to just to think about how much house you're going to end up, and then what you're really going to be able to do to the space.
Totally.
So what are some things down the road. So you're trying to talk about this immediate need of this kitchen and this dining room, and getting some of the bathrooms kind of that are probably kind of dated. Maybe there's some water damage.
Yeah.
What's sort of like when you envision this house, like, do you think of this as like your dream home, your forever home? I don't really use those kind of terms, but do you think of this as like, we're going to be here a long time. We're putting down roots here.
Yeah. I mean, it's just my husband and I right now. And the house is actually 2,000 square feet, which is quite large, especially for the Portland area. So we were pleased when we found it because we assumed we would have our first home for the regular first home buyer amount of, 5 to 7 years. And this one, there is so much space to dream a little bit down the line. So we've thought, not putting too many limits on ourselves, but maybe we'd be here for another 10 years or so.
Yeah.
So
that's a good long chunk of your life.
Exactly. And there's time to make it a space where we love to be and love to have people as well. And so, kind of the long-term vision, right now we're just in the more what we call the restoration phase of brightening it up with some paint, refinishing floors, really making it, cleaning it. Yeah. Because it's just owned by an older couple who probably couldn't clean it as well. So just really maintaining the space for what it is. And then long-term, we'd love to just take that unfinished basement and turn it into almost like a guest suite situation downstairs. We have a couple south-facing windows that aren't egress yet, but are almost, we could dig
in the
them
basement.
Out. Yeah, we could dig them out pretty easily. So we've thought about even adding 2 bedrooms downstairs, like an office situation and another bedroom. So at that point, it would be almost like a 4-2 at that point. And then just kind of creating like a home gym situation because the downstairs ceilings are pretty tall.
That's really lucky. Yeah,
we lucked out. And actually when we bought it had drop ceilings and we removed the paneling and just kind of looked and there was another 8 inches underneath the drop ceiling. So
oh, wow. Okay.
We were really excited about that you can, you don't hit your head at all when you go downstairs. It really feels like another space. So that's kind of the long-term vision is to really turn the basement into kind of a living room, TV viewing room, so we can pretend upstairs that we don't watch TV. How people love to do that.
But it's not a walkout; it's just a basement, right?
Nope, just a basement. Yeah. So we considered like, okay, would we add a second entrance somehow? But we really like where it is right now, even though the staircase is troublesome. Having it be right off the garage. So if somebody did, if we had a roommate or something, or rented it out to somebody we knew, they would still have a semi-private entrance.
Okay.
So, that's kind of the long-term vision is our laundry is downstairs as well. So create more of a laundry room, add a second guest room, redo the bathroom downstairs to make kind of a guest suite, and then add a little bit of a home gym area / also living room, movie watching, big sectional comfy couch area. Because, upstairs is fine for that, but downstairs would be better.
And how important is home to you? Like, are you someone who, your partner's or your husband's Jake, right? Yeah. Like, how important is home to you? Like, is this, like you lived in apartments before, like even then was how your home space and how you set it up and created it, was that environment really important to you? Yeah.
Well, it's actually funny. A lot of the homes that we lived in when we were single were truly homes. So either we rented a room from somebody we knew, or I back, in my earlier 20s, went in on a house together with friends and we would all rent that out. So we never really lived in apartments proper. Okay. Even right now we live in a little triplex apartment. So it feels homier. We only have a couple neighbors. So something that was really important to us was we kind of knew we were always home people, and I'm a homebody for sure. And we both work from home even before COVID. So it's kind of where all of our life happens. And I think that experience of renting a room from friends or being able to share a home with friends, and even now being able to invite people over and cultivate space that it hosts community and ourselves. Like we really view our home as, yes, our space, but it's also our friend's space. And family
you think
space.
About how you'll share that with other people.
Exactly. And how to be generous with it.
I like that.
So that was something that was really important to us. So even though the dining kitchen area has been more of we like to call it problem solving. It's not necessarily, constricting, but our vision has shifted over time. I think looking at like examples like the basement of, okay, how can we host here? How can we like provide a space for somebody to be if they need it? Yeah. That's what home is really important to us because people have done that for us in the past. So we're trying to kind of view our home as kind of this space for people to land if they need it. Or just, come over, hang out for a little while.
Just be comfortable.
Go to Mount Tabor.
Yeah, feel at home.
Get some coffee.
Yeah. No, you're in a great neighborhood for that.
Yeah.
How would you describe your vibe? Like what you see as the vibe for this new house?
I mean, I have words. So like we're definitely comfortable, cozy people. Like we're not super fancy by any means. So, we like lived in the sense that like if somebody broke a glass, it's like not a big deal. You know? Like but also I think Jake and I both like value things in the sense of like intentional things. We're kind of notorious for just getting rid of stuff if we don't want it. So,
okay.
A little minimal in that sense, but only because we just aren't clutter people. And so we want it to be comfortable, want it to be a space that feels, just feels homey for other people.
Okay. So Emily, what about the plan for your house? Like what vibe do you want it to have? What's the feeling that you want to have show up in this new house of yours?
Yeah, feeling is a good word for it because I don't think we have much like, we know these colors or these things. Beyond, we really like natural tones. But I think comfortable is a really big word for us. Cozy. We're really low key. We like just hanging out with people. So I love like a light and airy. And so opening up the staircase, for example, if that would create more lightness in the space, I think that feels good to me. We really just want it to be a place where people can come over, be themselves, bring a friend that we might not have met, just come and be themselves for the first time or whatever. So, I think that, it's cheesy to say comfortable is the word that keeps coming to mind.
Yeah.
But lived in too. We want people to come over and we want it to look nice and welcoming in that sense, but also like they can come and just be themselves. So
like they could take their shoes off and curl up on the sofa and have a conversation and
have a cup of coffee, take a blanket. Like it's really not going to mess with our whole. We're not very stiff people in that, but I think that's pretty normal for Portland, right? So
we're a pretty low key bunch.
Yeah.
So I almost think of your vibe a little bit when I think of like hotel lobbies that are done really well, that are about like you just walk in the hotel and you're like, oh my gosh, I just want to sit in here.
Smells good.
It smells good. There's a fireplace, but I always think like baskets with like throw blankets and stuff because it's really like our job as the host to teach people how to interact with your space.
Totally.
So when you see like, a space to set a wine glass down or a throw blanket or whatever, you just kind of know that, oh my gosh, I can get comfortable here.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I want people to feel comfortable interacting with the space. I think that's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
Instead of, being stiff and not quite sure what to do. It's like, no, just settle down, So, that's kind of the vision for any room in the house. But
my number one tip for making a room feel inviting is have a bar cart.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. I mean, if you drink,
it's important to us.
But it's just like, it immediately says like, oh, I'm going to like these people. I'm going to feel right at home here.
Yeah, exactly. You have a bar cart. We're big coffee drinkers. So, you have that going all the times too. So, the tea selection is big to us as well. So that's why your choice.
That's why opening up to that kitchen, I feel like is just so critical. And when I look at the video, I was also thinking, is there a way to do a peninsula in there and get a couple bar stools so that we're like, if you were sitting in the dining room at the banquet, you could sit across and there'd be bar stools right there, maybe even swivels that you could, swivel around and be kind of part of the action in the dining room, maybe even see into the living room.
Totally. That was kind of, and we're playing around with the idea, but with that closet, if we turn it into like a pantry or even like beverage area situation, linen, whatever, that closet turned into part of the kitchen. If there's a way that we could make it an L-shaped bar area so that, somebody could sit there, interact with somebody, hang out at the banquet. I don't know why that word. Banquet. That's the word. My brain for some reason. But that was kind of one of the things we talked through of like, okay, one, it would create more counter space. Two, it would create more casual places for people to sit, hang out, stay a while because it isn't a very large dining room, but we are up for the challenge to see how many people we can fit in there. So we'll just get comfortable and cozy and close.
And seating on that kind of perimeter there, it keeps people out of the kitchen, so they get to still be with you, because everyone likes to saddle up to the kitchen and kind of hang out and kind of stand there, but you don't want them staying in the kitchen, especially in a galley kitchen where you don't have a lot of room to, be cooking and opening up the appliance doors and whatnot. So I feel like that's a real key. What are some things that we haven't talked about that if there's anything that I'm an interior designer, you're a new homeowner, like, is there anything that you want to ask me? It could be about artwork or colors or just anything, like anything at all.
I guess like we talked a little bit about vaulting the ceilings, and I mean, we've got that dark wood paneling right now. We're really trying to warm it up a little bit with taking out that blue carpet and exposing the floors helped. Oh yeah. We figured we'd paint it a lighter, white, but is there any sort of like tones or something that we should be careful of with the shadows in there? I think like what I'm struggling with is how do we make it warm and feel open and airy for right now before we can go forward with all these engineering and ideas to create more light and space and air. So if you have any tips on how to create more light in a space that is a little darker, kind of has some lower ceilings, we'd love to hear them.
Yeah,
I mean, adding more light.
I think you're already on the right track with you've exposed the wood floors. I mean, instantly I was like, oh my gosh, this is like night and day now with that blue carpet out of there. Just because it's carpet, it was probably kind of gross, and it's just so it's like almost like blue, like this lamp, like it was
picked up on every bit of grime and shadow.
Yeah, well, and it's just cold, like it's a very cold color. I mean, I love blue. I love it to have, if you've got wood furniture, I love having blue and wood furniture in the same shop, because it's just they kind of balance each other out. So I think that's what you're really trying to do now is, now that you've exposed the wood, you've got that kind of dark brick fireplace, white walls, white ceiling. So just have that as your backdrop. And then for furnishings, just add in warmth. And I mean, you can do that with brushed gold. Brushed gold works really well to bring in warmth. I mean, it basically is a caramely warm color. So, and I think that people are like, oh, is that, trendy or whatever. But to me, when brushed gold started coming back into fashion, everyone was like, oh, this is going to, be like, it's going to go out of style so fast. It's just like a fad right now.
Terracotta kitchen.
Yeah. But the thing is, because it's warm, it really balances out really well with the whites and that just open, airy environment so much. So I would bring in some brushed gold, and I wouldn't be afraid to bring in some wood furniture. I'd probably keep the wood furniture on the lighter side, like ash or even just white oak. I don't think we're not trying to match it to your wood floor. So different colors and different species of wood can exist in the same space. Like there's no rules about that. I think it's when there's just too many. You've got cherry going on, and you've got white oak going on. You've got maple that's even lighter and more yellow. So I think when you've just gone too far, so I think if you limit it to maybe 2 or 3, but I would stay on the lighter and kind of a little bit more character-y. Don't be afraid to have like some reclaimed or maybe like a butcher block table. So that's the stuff that really, to me, balances out all that white walls. Because I mean, a lot of people are afraid of white walls because it's going to be cold. Sanitary. And it's going to be And that's the other thing is, when we say white, we don't mean white. We don't mean like hospital white. It's usually like a creamy white. Like my favorite is Benjamin Moore Simply White. If you put 8 whites on the wall and you just were like, okay, I'm just going to do kind of a process of elimination, you just scan it and you'd be like, Simply White. It's just the one that just like, it almost feels like it's got this luminosity to it. It's beautiful. It's not a white, but it's also not that warmish where it's kind of almost like looking like butter. Yeah. That's when things start looking a little dingy and dim, especially when you've got lower ceilings and kind of a little bit more of a chopped up space. That's when you need to watch for those shadows and stuff. But when you just have like a white that is just a more creamy white with that luminosity. So I would definitely try Benjamin Moore Simply White. Another hot tip is sampleize.com. This will save you when it comes to picking out paint colors. So I believe it's a designer and a builder, husband and wife, that started this company. And before they came along, which I don't know, I'm guessing like 5 years now, we would go to the paint store and we would get those little swatches, right? We would have like little swatches, which is not real paint. So you would get them and you would put them all over your walls, tape them up or whatever.
Totally different.
And you'd be like, okay, yeah, that one's the one. And then you'd paint your wall that and you'd be like, oh my gosh, this is totally different because it's not made of real paint. So sampleize.com cured all of this. So it is a full, I guess it's like a 12 by 9 piece of paper. It's painted with 2 real coats of whatever you paint.
Okay.
So like the Benjamin Moore is 2 coats of Benjamin Moore Simply White. You can actually see paint marks on it, or even the roller marks. So when you put it up, you're just like, that's literally what it's going to look like.
Yeah.
So there's just no question. They're $6 a piece, worth every penny.
Oh, cool.
So, get yourself like 4 or 5 different whites, and you want to put them up in different areas too. Not like, so you want to try not only like look at it on this wall and this wall, all the different angles that are going on, because light will do different things. It'll look like 2 totally different colors. You also want to look at it at different times of day. So you're really looking for that. Is it looking too sort of like dingy? I mean, that's really like too dingy and shadowy. It's not kind of holding its own.
Yeah.
And obviously you can do some layered lighting of your own for at night, doing table lamps and floor lamps. And maybe there's even some opportunity to do some wall sconces or some pendants.
Yeah.
Especially if you're going to be doing some vaulted ceilings, if you're going to be opening up those ceilings anyway, then you're not like destroying the drywall. You're going to be opening it up anyway. And you can do like a tongue and groove ceiling, which would be really pretty if you ended up doing the vault. So yeah, there's just some good ways you can just keep it light. But I really recommend the brushed gold and some warm wood elements. And then even in your textiles, like for your pillows and blankets and stuff, you can bring in some warmth there. I usually, for upholstered furniture, like sectionals, sofas, lounge chairs, I tend to go on the more cool side than the more beiges and browns.
Yeah.
Even though beige is kind of having a big moment right now, people are really loving all the different monochromatic beiges. I like a gray sofa.
Yeah.
It's just, white is beautiful, but it's just not practical. Even if you're getting the Krypton and the anti-stain, all that kind of stuff, it's still white.
Yeah.
So I like a gray because I think it balances. It just brings in that hit of cool to balance out the warm from the wood floors. But I like the color to be in the like an area rug, a nice big area rug. And maybe if you're into more neutrals, it can be in smaller hits, like it looks like we've got a cart going down the hallway there.
It's fine.
Yeah. Shut up. No, just kidding. So yeah, I think that, just those little hits, if you're not into big color, it can just be in little things like pillows and throw blankets and art. I mean, have you collected any art?
We have a couple of friends who are actually artists in the area. So we collect our friends' art, which works out well because it's real art and it's beautiful. So yeah, I feel like gray is like definitely Jake's favorite tone.
Okay, good. So that's not going to be a hard sell.
So yeah, our couch right now is this really cool like wood frame, but also has it's gray and tufted and beautiful. And I'm drawn to like very primary colors, so like yellows and red, oranges and deep blues. And then we're big plant people as well. So that's kind of our draw when it comes to colors, very primary, very greens. And then, a lot of natural fiber and stuff in there too. So, I'm just excited to see how it plays with white. We haven't had white walls. So it was one of the things that we were a little nervous about, like painting the whole thing white and seeing how it feels. But thanks. Okay. I think we're
absolutely go for it. Yeah.
Especially with that paneling.
I've even had clients that I did a living room for some clients that they had this really, really pretty older house, maybe like from the 20s or 30s. And she wanted me to redo everything. I mean, just got the living room.
Yeah.
And when it came down to paint color, I was really pushy about the white. And she was like, we've never had white walls. We can't. And this room was so dark and kind of depressing. It was a pretty room and it had like really pretty molding and woodwork.
Totally.
So I made a deal with her. I do this sometimes where I'm like, if you don't like it, I'll pay for you to repaint it. I mean, that's how sure I am that they will love it. And she ended up painting her entire house after that room. She painted her entire house with white walls. She's like, it's just a game changer for just how the house feels. It just feels more airy and open and just less like, kind of like stodgy and like the walls are coming in. I would say my exceptions to that are I love a family room, a den, like a cozy, like in a forest green or like an eggplant, like charcoal gray. Cool. Like I love it if you're just going for it. And then I also like it because your living room then is the more lighter gathering room where you spend a lot of your time. But then there's a reason to go, to this other family room or den because the rooms feel differently. If every room in your house felt the same, like you're just going to hang out in the same space all the time. Yeah. So I like what your different, especially those living areas,
Yeah.
like because your breakfast nook where you have it, you may end up like working from there.
Totally.
It's just like in this great spot. You could even be, if we are able to open up those walls, I say we, because I'm immediately become, this is our project.
Yeah, come over now.
I get really attached really fast. But yeah, so if we were able to open up that wall and now the banquette is looking at the kitchen, you could literally be, Jake could be hanging out cooking in the kitchen. I'm pegging him as the cook. I don't know why.
He's great at it. You're not wrong.
Yeah, I don't know why.
At home cafe.
Yeah. And then you can just be sitting there at this, nice little upholstered banquette doing your work or.
Would you do a built-in for the banquette, or would you like just buy like a bench situation? Or how does that work?
I like a built-in a lot. There's actually one on the wall right there that I did for a failed HGTV show, actually. But so that one,
having this moment right now, though.
Yeah, that one is not built in. It was custom built, so it's actually and it's just a L shape. So it kind of is like the best of both worlds, where it's just really the perfect size and shape for that spot. But it is a piece of furniture that we had built and moved in there. But I like something like that. That's almost more like the hybrid because it's built for the space. I tend to think those ones that are like pre-made, that are they just sort of never really work as well as something that's like semi-custom and or just built in.
Yeah.
It just feels like this is the dining room. This is where it is. It's always been here. It doesn't feel like a remodel.
It's part of it.
Yeah, it just feels like a very intentional. And I think that that's going to be important because it is a pretty quirky spot that they put the dining room.
Yep.
So and that happens in all eras, but I feel like it especially happens in mid-century. Because these are the homes I keep buying because I am mid-century. I love them. You're not. Your parents are probably mid-century.
Yeah, it's all good.
So yeah, well, I think that you're on the right track.
Thanks.
I'm super excited for you to move in.
Me too.
And just have the experience of living there and really like start feeling like, what's this home going to be like for you? And I wouldn't worry that it takes some time, that you've got to pull the budget together. My advice is always, don't do a scattering of a little bit here, a little bit there. Pick a room and finish it.
Yeah.
And I would say that it's the living room for you, because I think the kitchen and breakfast nook is going to be more of an investment where you're going to have to like get a general contractor after you get an engineer, and it's going to be this, bigger deal, maybe hire a designer. I am available. I don't know. I'm not trying to get clients here. But I would focus on that living room because it could just be your first win.
Yeah.
It could just be like this really yummy room that just has that great place for all of your friends and family to gather and for you to be comfortable and, just hang out and just get it done, just like get it all furnished and get art on the walls, get it all painted. You've already removed the carpet. So once you have that win under your belt, then you can just like,
momentum.
All right. Yeah. And plus you can just like feel a little bit calmer and just like a little bit happier in your home.
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of times people go into these situations, especially when they're new to the home or first-time home buyers, is they just start kind of doing a little bit everywhere, and it just never really makes you that happy. Just kind of like, it just feels like a bunch of Band-Aids everywhere.
It's like half done.
Yeah. And that feeling of half done makes you feel like you're in limbo, and that feeling just is no good.
Yeah.
So yeah, have at that living room, and then send me some photos, and then we'll talk.
Will do. Yeah, I know. We're getting paint samplings this weekend. So I was like, okay,
good.
Benjamin Moore, Simply White. We'll see how that goes.
Yeah.
And we'll go from there.
And Sample-Eyes delivers in like 24 hours.
Amazing.
They're super fast. So
that's my next step.
Yeah, highly recommend. Any last questions for me while you have me? Not that you can't email me, you can.
No, thank you so much. You just validated a lot of the things that we had kind of thought about it. So thanks for giving me your designer's brain. I think that's what we needed. But yeah, I'm excited to see it take shape. And I like your advice too of living in it for a little bit and seeing what rooms we kind of gravitate towards and where we spend our time. And I think that will kind of help direct where our focus goes and our intention goes for when we do make these bigger changes. So I'm excited about it.
I would also trust your instincts. You have good instincts.
Oh,
I don't say that to all my clients. I generally don't, actually. Usually if you're hiring a designer, this is not something I can do for myself. But I think even a lot of homeowners, they kind of live in mediocrity because they're just afraid to do anything, or they're not afraid and they kind of make the wrong decision. So, but just based on the fact that you and I are agreeing so well means you have really good taste. So,
thank you so much.
So yeah, just trust your gut. And
cool.
yeah. And is Jake part of that? Does he like to have weigh in on things?
Totally. I mean, it's a partnership for sure.
Yeah.
But my opinion is like maybe 55%.
Okay. Yeah.
45.
Yeah.
But like otherwise everything would be gray. So we need some color in there too. But
yeah. Well, you can tell me he can win with that a gray sofa,
exactly,
gray sectional.
Exactly. So. We'll get another one in there. But yeah, appreciate your time.
Yeah, this was awesome.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Hope that was helpful to everyone. The front door opens. What are your guests thinking? Should they take their shoes off? Do you have a basket for them to put their shoes in? Do you have a pair of shoes sitting there so they know, oops, I might be wanting to take my shoes off too? Is there a mirror? Maybe they need to do a quick hand combing of their hair. Maybe they need to check their teeth. Is there a place to set their handbag or their keys? So even if you don't have a proper entryway, you can create a space that really teaches your guests how to interact with your home. The entryway is often overlooked, but it actually has a greater impact than you might think. In fact, this is what's in my entryway. So I'm trying to set the tone to have low expectations of your time here. Okay.